And we're live.
Marissa, do you have the PowerPoint presentation up?
I'm pulling it up now.
All right, good evening to everybody on the call with me, to everybody watching at home, and as always, to the entire internet out there watching us tonight. My name is Nathan Lombardo. I'm the Planning and Zoning Administrator for the City of South Fulton. This is our Community Zoning Information Meeting for Monday, February 8th, 2021. As usual, this is a review of all of the planning and zoning cases that have upcoming actions with the City of South Fulton, whether it be at the council meeting tomorrow, the 9th, the Planning Commission meeting on the 16th, or the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting on the 18th. We can go to the next slide, please. Can we go to the next slide, please, Marissa?
I'm working on it, sorry.
No problem.
Don't know why this isn't working. Okay.
All right, for tonight's meeting and for upcoming Planning Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals meetings, if you would please email your comments into the planning email address at planning@cityofsouthfultonga.gov. Again, if you have any questions or comments about any of the cases you hear tonight, please email them into this email address, and if we receive them in time, we will either read them and try to answer them in the meeting tonight, or get back to you tomorrow with a written reply to that. If you have any comments about the cases tonight that you would like to make for the upcoming Planning Commission meeting, again, that meeting is on the 16th, next Tuesday, or for the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting, and that meeting is on the 18th, next Thursday. You can also email those into the email address on your screen, and we will make sure that those get read into the record at those meetings. So we can go right into the next case, or the first case rather. Next slide, please. Z20005, a rezoning request at 0 Buffington Road. This one should be relatively familiar to everyone. It has been at community zoning meetings before, and it's been deferred at Planning Commission meetings, but will be at the Planning Commission meeting next week on the 16th. We can go to the next slide, please. This is a rezoning from AG1 to M2, and the petitioner seeks to develop an office and a storage yard for construction equipment of his own business. Go to the next slide, please. This parcel is located directly across the street from the warehouse you see in the middle of the screen in a undeveloped lot. Yeah, it's between Buffington Road and I-85 right there where the cursor was. Yep. Go to the next slide, please. You can see it on your screen rather, at a split zoning of AG1 and OI on this lot. Go to the next slide, please. And you can see here, just the plan is for a simple office building, a simple shop building, some parking for his business, and a storage yard. There will be no industrial activity or manufacturing going on at this site. It will just be storage for his construction business. Is Mr. Benson on the call this evening?
He wasn't able to make it.
That's okay. As I said, this has been at the CZIM before, and we have received public comment on it. There is an upcoming community meeting with Mr. Benson and the adjacent residential developments this Wednesday, so more comment will be solicited at that time. And if anybody from those groups or those communities rather is listening tonight, you can email in your questions or comments as well. I know there are some leaders from those communities rather who are going to be on that call, as well as the council member who is Councilmember Reeves for that district. We can go to the next slide, please. Next case, Z20007, a rezoning request at 0 Butner Road. And again, this case has also been heard at CZIM meetings before tonight, and it will be at the Planning Commission meeting on the 16th. We can go to the next slide, please. This is a rezoning request from R3A to CUP. The petitioner here is wanting to put a residential subdivision with 59 homes. The parcel is in the Cliftondale overlay and will comply with all stagger and material requirements. Many of the comments that we have received on this case have involved the density, and the density has been reduced on this site, which we'll see on the plan, and been about the material selection for the houses, and those have been upgraded, as you'll see in the visuals that we have. You can go to the next slide, please. This parcel is the one directly in the middle of the screen that is completely wooded. And you will see on the right, even though there is a slight variation in our GIS maps, the parcel is outlined in blue and it is all R3A, which is the dark orange. Go to the next slide, please. This is the most recent site plan for this project. You will see 59 homes, which is a reduction in the density there. There is additional open space. There is also emergency access with a knockbox to the subdivision behind it. There is no direct access, and that has been requested by those communities to keep them separate. But there is emergency access there. There is a creek and wetlands area that runs through the middle of the parcel. Thank you for the good cursor use there. I saw that. And it's right off Butner Road. You can see this development. They also will be building a decel lane for entrance into this subdivision. We can go to the next slide, please. Here's some elevations that were sent in by the petitioners. Just samples of other houses they have done before. This is a Pulte development. And I know Michelle is on the call. I think I have covered all of the points on this call. If there's anything I missed, just let me know. I think that means I covered it all. We can go to the next slide, please. I'll just pause real quick. Has any comments or questions come in the email at this point?
Yes.
And if let me just say this: if they are comments that are for the Planning Commission meeting, just hold those for the Planning Commission meeting, and we'll make sure that they get read into the record at that meeting. So go ahead, Dana.
Okay, so this is applicable to Z20-005 and Z20-007.
Sure, no problem.
So
Okay.
as residents and property owners in the city of South Fulton, District 4, we are concerned about and do not want the city of South Fulton to approve the following zoning cases. These projects, as they have been presented, will have a continuing negative impact on the residential property values surrounding the areas where they are proposed. We know that builders, developers have little consideration for historic home values and a devaluing trend of their recently approved projects. We implore that the Planning Commission and all City of South Fulton officials to help protect our assets and our communities by fostering development that will have positive effects. Specifically, we are concerned about the future projects associated with the aforementioned zoning cases do not address the need for diversity in the housing prices, quality construction, and housing reflective of the market demand for diversified housing market prices, enhance the property values of older established subdivisions where residents paid more than $400,000 for their homes, or contribute to the residential need for more medical and professional office and more upscale retail and restaurant businesses. We ask that you reject these projects as they do not grow our communities into the vibrant and viable areas that we all as homeowners have invested so much to create. Thank you, Renee and Donald Haynes. That's it.
And those were noted, the Haynes. Any other questions or comments that come in about those two cases, Dana?
No.
All right. Then we can go right into this case. CV20-002 is a concurrent variance to the previous case. We can go right to the next slide, please. Here, the petitioner is asking for permission to construct a retaining wall in a buffer area. It is necessary due to the topography of the site. The buffer area would be disturbed for construction and then return to green space and be passive once it was put into place. This has been reviewed by the city engineers, and there is no concern with the placement of these retaining walls. And they have been given the okay, should they get their rezoning, to put these two retaining walls in place. We can go to the next slide, please. Again, this is the site plan we previously saw, and you'll see in the center of the screen, we have the stream area, and there are two dark black lines, jagged lines starting in the corner behind the open space going to house 34. That is one wall, and there's a small wall behind house 51 right below it through the center of the development there. And those are the two walls that they asked for the concurrent variance. We can go to the next slide. V21001. This is a variance at 3825 and 3895 Jonesboro Road. The next slide, please. The petitioner here is asking for two variances at a recently approved senior housing development at 3825 and 3895 Jonesboro. Asking for, in the first case, for permission to do grading and replanting in the northern buffer area due to the topography of the site. The topography there is such that if they don't grade and replant, they'll have to build a very large wall, which would be not only unsightly, but not as aesthetically pleasing to the residents of this facility and as effective as regrading that area. It will then also be passive. The second variance here is allow part of the site to be used as a stormwater retention area, and this would be in the undisturbed buffer there. Again, due to the topography of the site, there is a significant grade change over the course of this site, so there needs to be a larger retaining area to catch all of the stormwater runoff from this site. And again, the way the site is there just needs to be that extra area to catch all the runoff. Again, after construction, both of these areas will be completely passive and left undisturbed and be green space. And we can go to the next slide, please. You can see on the map on the left, it is both the parcel that is outlined in blue and the large parcel next to it. So it's the two areas sort of rectangular right there on Jonesboro Road. If you look at the aerial on the right, the pin is in the parcel that I was just describing, and then it goes to the corner where Jonesboro has a bit of a curve there, right at the intersection of Peters Road. We can go to the next slide. This is a picture of the apartment building that was approved at last month's council meeting. And we can go to the next slide, please. This is the site plan of the development. You will see at the top is the northern border with the two dotted lines. That's the area they would like to grade and replant to be a more effective buffer area. And then the right is in the blue is the retention pond. You can see it is in some of the buffer area there. And again, these will be put in place and then left to be once they are there and will be natural passive areas. Michelle, did I cover everything that you think needs to be said about those?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Dana, has any comments or questions come in regarding this variance?
No.
Okay, we can move on to the next slide, please. Z2102, a rezoning at 0 Campbell Drive. Go to the next slide, please. Here the petitioner requests a rezoning from AG1 to M1 for the purpose of constructing a warehouse. This property is surrounded on 3 sides by parcels in Union City that are zoned industrial. There has been coordination between the petitioner and Union City and the city of South Fulton on site planning and buffering so that the development would adequately shield and space themselves out from residences in South Fulton. And once we see the site plans and the way the parcels are laid out, it'll make a lot more sense. We can go to the next slide, please. I believe I misspoke there and said Union City and it should be East Point. You'll see on the aerial map on the left, there is a large undeveloped space in the center of the map. That is what we're talking about. And you'll see on the right, the parcel in blue is the one parcel that is in the city of South Fulton. The other parcels that surround it are all in the adjacent municipality rather. So this parcel is isolated from anything else in the city of South Fulton. And all the parcels that are around it are industrial parcels. We can go to the next slide, please. This is a preliminary layout of the site, and obviously the parcel in red is the parcel that is in the city of South Fulton. So it is surrounded by the other municipality and by different zoning. If we go to the next slide as well, you'll see the layout of this site. And what they have done is if you juxtapose the South Fulton map on top of here, you would see that what would end up being constructed in the city of South Fulton is part of a truck parking lot and about 20% of one building. Everything else is in East Point. The buffer area that you see in the lower part of the screen is what is adjacent to the city of South Fulton. You will also notice that all of the commercial loading, unloading, and noise generating areas of this site face away from the city of South Fulton and are shielded by the buildings. So it was laid out to have large buffers and to have the activity away from the residences. So there was a good amount of thought put into that. You will also see a lot of the site is left for detention and to be green space. So there is a lot of trees to there also that will be absorbing sound here. I am sure that there will be questions and comments coming in, maybe not immediately at this meeting, but again, any questions or comments on this, please send in to the planning email address and they will be read at the upcoming meeting. This will be at the Planning Commission meeting on the 16th. And I do believe we have the petitioners on the call. If they wanted to make any comments, now is when they could say those.
Thank you, Nathan. You pretty much said everything we presented in the last meeting. I just wanted to add that to give some background to some folks on the call. We've been working on this since last summer during the East Point moratorium, and that put us in a position where we were able to reach out to a concerned resident who spends a lot of time on this property, is very familiar with it, as well as the council people from both municipalities. And we've been in contact with the most closely affected homeowner in the city of South Fulton, and showed her the plans and designs and the buffers and the landscaping. And she has been satisfied with what we presented to her. So we're gonna keep those conversations going. We are actually having a Zoom meeting on Wednesday, and that was presented in the letters that I sent to the folks that are a quarter mile away. Additionally, the council member should be at that meeting. And so any people in that subdivision that she thinks would be important to have on the call should be on the call on Wednesday. And I can, if you'd like, I can put my email in the chat, and then folks who may have not gotten that notice can reach out to me and I will send you the Zoom link.
I appreciate that. And if you would make sure that, go ahead and send that to me and any other staff members. We can just be flies on the wall in that meeting, just to listen in.
Sure, absolutely.
And again, any comments, any residents watching who want to be in the meeting, the email to get an invite is in the chat. And any comments or questions, feel free. Again, it's planning@cityofsouthfultonga.gov. Dana, have any other questions or comments come in regarding this petition?
No.
Okay, I'm sure that will not be the case over the course of time, but we will be ready for those and have them ready for the meeting. Anything else, Lauren, that we have missed in describing this case?
I don't think so. I've also got Daniel Hannes on the line in case he wanted to add anything as the applicant.
Hey there. No, thank you, Lauren. I think you covered everything unless anybody has any additional questions for me.
All right, thank you guys very much.
Thank
we will
you,
move
guys.
on to the next
Appreciate
case. U2101 is a use permit at 3395 Roosevelt Highway. Go to the next slide, please. Petitioner here is requesting a use permit for a hair salon, and it will be a renovation of an existing building. Go to the next slide, please. We can see on the aerial map the location of this parcel, and on the right you will see it is zoned C1. As part of our recent zoning change in December, many new businesses are required to go before council for use permits. This will be one of them. Just as a general note, if anyone's watching tonight, I would just get used to seeing a lot more use permits on Planning Commission and council agendas because they will be happening as a matter of fact. So next slide, please. Again, here's another picture of just an aerial of the development around where this building is and of the building itself. Go to the next slide, please. And here's a floor plan of what they propose to be doing. It will certainly be submitted for all relevant building permit approvals. Anyone from this case have anything to add to this this petition right now? All right. Barring any comments in the planning email address, we can go to the next slide. Next one is U2102, a use permit at 3850 Flat Shoals. Next slide, please. Here's a use permit for a barber and beauty salon. Again, a build out of an existing retail space. Go to the next slide. Again, on our maps, you can see where it is located in an existing structure. It is zone C1, and so the use permit is required in that zoning designation. Go to the next slide. This will be at the middle retail slot in that building. That's right, nice circle, I appreciate that. And just a more zoomed in aerial map of this parcel. We can go to the next slide, please. And here is a floor plan of the proposed build out. You'll see it is in the center there, so it will be set up as a salon. Is anyone from this proposal online tonight on this call?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Ms. Patel, is there anything you would like to add to this or anything that we missed?
No, nothing is pretty straightforward. There's, we just, it was initially not zoned for it, and we just want to go ahead and just get it zoned so that we can go ahead and put it in there, basically. Yeah. We've been trying since 2019 to get this thing done, but due to COVID and all these delays, we're just getting, pushed back. So hopefully we can make this thing happen now.
I understand. Have any questions or comments come in to the email address, Dana?
No, but there is a comment relating to his modification, which is for the same address, so I can read it then.
Okay, sure. Well, then we can move on to the next slide. Since it is a modification of the same address, we can go to the next slide, please. A modification associated with the previous use permit 2102 to allow for the barber and beauty salon at this location. This particular modification will be heard at the March 9th council meeting. So make note, we do have a council meeting tomorrow night, but this case, the modification will be at the March 9th council meeting. And what is the comment on this modification, Dana?
All right, so this is from Laverne Perry. Please do not allow a modification of this space for a beauty and barber shop. The project will impact homeowners negatively. There has also already been an increase in crime on that block. I have lived in this area for over 17 years, and in recent years, as that convenience store has expanded, there have been a drastic increase in crime. It is my concern that my property values will decrease dramatically and the crime will continue to increase. Thank you for your consideration, Laverne Perry. That's it.
All right, thank you, Ms. Perry. Any other questions or comments relating to the modification or use permit at 3850 Flat Shoals? All right, thank you very much. And we can go to the next slide, please. U21003, a use permit at 5610 Old National. Go to the next slide, please. Again, it's a use permit for a hair salon, and it will be a build out of an existing building. You can go to the next slide and show where it is. See our aerial map with the pin drop right where the building is in Old National, and you see the zoning map on the right. It is zone C1. Again, a zoning designation requires a use permit for this use. We'll go to the next slide. Here is a simple floor plan of the build out. It looks like this will be one of the a salon suite type place, which is very similar to the place that I get my hair cut at. So I'm very familiar with what I'm looking at. It's a definite way that salons are going nowadays. Any questions or comments from the petition, or any comments from the petitioner if they are on this call.
Yes, sir. I'm on this call, Oliver Williford. I have nothing further to add if anyone doesn't have any questions for me.
Dana, have any questions or comments come in the email address?
No.
All right. All right, we can go to the next slide. Thank you very much. M21002, a modification at 1215 New Hope Road. Next slide, please. This is a modification request from Bethel United Methodist Church asking for a modification to allow the hosting of a youth program in a new fellowship hall. The previous zoning for the site was written very specifically, so this request is necessary. The use was listed to be held only in their church, and so we're asking a modification to allow them to be able to do this use in their fellowship hall. And again, this will be heard at the March 9th, 2021 council meeting. We can go to the next slide, please. You can see on our aerial map where the pin drop is. That is where the church is located. And on the aerial map and the zoning map on the right, rather, the highlighted blue parcel in the middle is where the church is. Thank you very much. Next slide, please. And here's just a site plan of where the new building is going to go, right next to the existing church. Obviously, this will be submitted and have to comply with all building regulations and will be submitted for review for regular building permits. Is there anyone from the church or this case on this call to speak to it? No one? Did I hear something?
Yes, this is Cedric. We're with 2DT Design, with the architectural firms that handle the plans. I do have Mr. Lawrence on the line, as well as Miss Carolyn Brown, and they can they're from the church, and they can speak directly to the use permit modification.
Sure. If there's anything you want to add or any specific details, or just let us know what you're doing, that'd be greatly appreciated.
So generally, it's a 4,000 square foot detached fellowship hall, and based on the activities and the expanding community around, the church would like to just expand their services to the community. And I understand there was a lot of times they couldn't honor some requests from the community because of the limited space they had. So this would be a great add for the community as well as the church itself. Lawrence, you want to add anything? I don't know if he has trouble here.
This is John Lawrence. I just want to say that if anyone has any questions, just give us a call. When the letter we sent out, our phone numbers are in there.
All right. That sounds good to me. I believe this is the last slide of this presentation. Am I correct, Marissa? It is. Again, if anyone has any questions or comments, please feel free to email us at the planning email address, which is planning, PLANNING, at cityofsouthfultonga.gov. Any questions or comments that come in, we will either reply back to you and hope to get those satisfied as best we can. If you have comments relating to any of these cases for the upcoming Planning Commission meeting, just let us know and we will make sure those comments get read into the record at the Planning Commission or the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. Again, there is a council meeting tomorrow night. There's a Planning Commission on the 16th. The Zoning Board of Appeals meeting is on the 18th. And next month's zoning hearing for council is on March 9th for the 2 modifications. I thank you all very much for listening and hope everybody has a wonderful evening. Thank you so much.
Thanks, you too.